Good evening, welcome. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the February 18, 2016 meeting of the Marion City Council. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll proceed with the roll call.
Ms. Pazor.
Here.
Ms. Etzel.
Present.
Mr. Spinks.
Present.
Mayor Abou-Osley.
Here.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Sternan.
Present.
Mr. Draper.
He's not here. Okay, we'll now have a moment of silence. Okay. We'll proceed with citizen presentations. This is the time when citizens can speak to the council about any matter that's not on the agenda. Are there any citizen presentations? Yes, sir. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Jack Zumwalt, 1500 8th Street. I'm here tonight representing the Library Board of Trustees. Just a really quick update. We had a very successful public forum with our new library director candidates earlier in February, and we thought we had some really good candidates, and we had about 50, we were pleased about 50 people came to the forum, so we got some really good feedback from people, and we were really happy about that as well. So just wanted to give you an update. We have made an offer to one of the candidates, and it's going through the paperwork process, and we're hoping that an announcement could be made soon on the new library director. The current library director, Doug Raber, his last day will be March 4th, and also wanted to let you know that we have appointed Joe Pearson, the assistant library director, and she will fill in as the interim library director in any gap between Doug and the new director. So we also, just a real quick update, things going on in the library. Something coming up this summer that they've recently worked on. The Metro Library Network every year has something called the Out Loud series, where they bring in 3 authors and they have book signings and presentations from the authors, and they're continuing that program. Just wanted to let you know that program is continuing this year. And they've announced that they haven't announced 3 offers, but they've selected three offers. I don't know who they are yet, but they'll be announcing those soon, and those presentations will be happening in June. So that's something to look forward to. Any questions for us?
Questions?
Just those Out Loud series are excellent. We've been to several of them, and there's like 200 people at some of them.
Yeah. Yes, they're a great thing. That's supported by the Giacoletto Foundation, a grant from Giacoletto.
Yeah.
Thanks for the update.
You bet.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll proceed then with the consent calendar.
Your Honor, is this the time to remove items from
Yes.
this consent? Okay, I would like to remove number 14.
14.
Yeah. And number 28.
28.
And 32.
Okay.
And 34.
I think I got them
Okay.
all.
So we have,
That's all.
Okay. So I move to approve the consent calendar as presented, items 1 through 38. Resolution 25110 through 25134, excluding items 14, 23, 28, 32, and 34.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Not 23.
That was,
He's removing that, yeah. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented, excluding items 14, 23, 28, 32.
28. No, 23.
Yeah.
We're excluding that one also.
We are
It
also.
had that.
yeah, on top of the,
Excluding items 14, 23, 28, 32, and 34. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying
Is there a second?
aye. Yes, there was a second.
Aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Okay. Number 14.
14. Your Honor, I move to approve motion to approve the project calendar regarding the 2016 Lau Park parking lot project as followed. A, motion to retain the city engineer as project engineer regarding the 2016 Lau Park parking lot project. B, resolution number 25118, approving resolution of necessity regarding the 2016 Lau Park parking lot project. C, resolution number 25119, ordering preparation of details, plans, specifications, notice of hearings and lettings, notice to bidders, form of contract, and estimate of costs regarding the 2016 Lau Park parking lot project. D, resolution 25120, approving and adopting final plat specifications, notice of hearing and letting, notice to bidders, form of contract, and estimates of costs regarding the 2016 Lau Park parking lot project.
Second.
Now, does this have to do with the parking lot that is going to replace the Thomas Park Pavilion?
Okay.
If I could, it's not replacing the pavilion that was scheduled for construction in Thomas Legion. It's a reallocation of the funds for that will go towards the Lau Park Development Project. As I stated on Tuesday, the Park Board's desire is that we go back to the Park Pavilion project at another time, another year, and look at different funding sources for that at that time, whether it be additional local option sales tax, bonding, whatever that might be. But it's not that the project will go off of the CIP under Parks, but it's just a reallocation of those funds to their top priority project at this time.
Well, my objection to this is there are not that many people who come into Marion from the north on 10th Street. But there are a lot of people who come into Marion from the west on 7th Avenue. And it just seems to me we are ignoring that little jewel that sits there called Thomas Park. And not only that, but all the construction and all the improvements and things that are going on north of 7th Avenue as opposed to anything south. And I guess a lot of my constituency is on the south part of Marion. And it's being ignored and just kind of fluffed away, and I object to that.
Mike, can you
Your Honor,
fill
if
us
I
in
could.
on the investments that have been made in Thomas Park over
Yes,
the last
if
few
I
years?
could, over the course of about the last 6 years, we've done considerable improvements to Thomas Legion Park. We did an extensive playground reconstruction project where we put in 2 new playgrounds down there, upwards of $200,000 for those. We built a new 20-feature splash pad within Thomas Park over the same time of year. That was about another $200,000 investment. Within the last 2 years, we built 2 brand new pavilions within Thomas Park. 2 years ago, also, we built a brand new basketball court slash ice rink system in Thomas Park also. So there are considerable improvements going on within that park.
But one of the big complaints has come from the villages when you build the parks office, whatever, out there because they can't see into the park now. And, you know, they're either looking at a roof or a building, and Of course, I realize that has nothing to do with this, but splash pads, recycle the water.
At the time of that construction, that was a flow-through system. As we've discussed the flow-through systems in the past, it's a project that we could come back and look at sometime in the future if the council would so desire and fund a recirculating system for that. And we could review that at another time and also look at those costs associated with it.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, next to the Law Park Amphitheater, that park has seen the greatest investment of any parks in our city.
That's correct.
Well, it's got the second most amount of acres to it too, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it should, but
Right.
it just seems to me that it's been kind of,
But that's not accurate. He just named off all of the investments that have gone in that park over the last few years. So I don't think it's not accurate to say that it's being ignored.
well, what I'm saying is that it would be nice to have it enjoy a new pavilion as planned.
And it's still in the plan. It's just not going to happen now. It's still in the plan, but they thought that the improvements they're proposing at Law Park are greater priority on their list, and so they're changing the priorities around. But it's still going to happen. It's just not first thing on the list.
I want it on the list. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on that item? No? We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the project calendar regarding 2016 Lau Park parking lot project, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, we have one no. The motion passes. Item 23.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 25128, approving Bedford Heights Addition preliminary plat for property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Albernet Road, DX4 Investments.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25128, approving the Bedford Heights Addition preliminary plat for property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Albernet Road. Okay, is there any discussion on this? Presentation? Okay.
Let's start with location. Yes, Your Honor and Counsel. I just wanted to, this was on the consent calendar. It's preliminary plat approval. We talked about it on Tuesday in detail with the council. As you'll recall, when this property was being rezoned, I had indicated that it was being developed single-family residential. I believe there's 52 lots being proposed within this area, and the plat does meet all of the standards for stormwater, runoff, lot sizes, and all the appropriate details within the plat. However, I did mention on Tuesday that we wanted to reach out to the neighborhood to the south that is in the county, this neighborhood here. Residents of Don Drive is kind of how we've always referenced it, west of Albernet Road. The development was completed in the county probably 30, 40 years ago, maybe even longer. The residents can probably speak to the time frame. But since the development has been in existence, there's been a stormwater issue. And there's a lot of stormwater that runs directly into that neighborhood. I just want to put the aerial. The proposed development is up here, outlined in red. The area that the stormwater that runs down through here, as you can see, it enters about the northwest corner and comes out about the southeast corner. So it really runs diagonal through the development. It's been an ongoing issue for numerous years. I think we actually spoke to a group from the neighborhood 6, 8 years ago, and then I keep in contact with one individual out there whose name, for some reason, is escaping me at the moment. I've been talking to them on and off for the last 6-8 months regarding a large viaduct that is located here that's kind of forming a little blockage of water and backs up into the neighborhood. All of that is in the county, so it's difficult for the city to address the issues. I've been in contact with a couple of the supervisors regarding how we can possibly resolve the issue. It's been very difficult to get the owner of the property here, the Klobeck family, to really respond to much. That being said, the proposed development that we have in place is a single-family residential development, Alburnett Road. There is detention being provided in this vicinity here on the east edge, and there's some detention being provided on the west end. As you can see, there's a larger area going to be detained down here at where the water would exit on the southwest side of the addition. The flow of water, that's about the ridge. I'll probably get this a little bit wrong. The developer's engineer's in the room. He can correct me. But right about here is the ridge line. So the water from this end of the subdivision is going to flow west and into that larger drainage system. The remaining water will flow east and into a drainage system that comes along the west side of Alburnett Road and then crosses over, goes in and around Lau Park, and then comes out south of the subdivision. There's a lot of concerns and questions about what happens when that water comes out and whether it blocks the neighborhood. There's a viaduct. There's just a lot of stormwater issues. The one thing that I'd just point out is that when the properties are developed, they're developed to our standards. We retain stormwater to a specific standard. It's very difficult for us to go in and say you've got to do more, and the developers have met those standards. So I just want to relay the information to the council. We went through the details of a lot of the other intricacies. I think the major issue on the minds of the residents south is stormwater, and I think a few of them would like to talk to voice their concerns. Just want to point out one thing also, that in the future, it's not like we're not aware of the stormwater issues that are out there. We've been talking for probably 10 years on the need to complete a larger regional detention basin in this area. We've got what I would probably call preliminary/conceptual design for a basin that would be located west of the development being proposed here. This is the Skogman development. If you'll recall, that was recently platted as well. West of this area, and trying to retain in a larger fashion the stormwater from this greater basin north of this subdivision. The problem is we don't own the ground. Some of it's in the city, and it'll have to come with the development. So when the developer, the owner, is willing to start the conversation about the development, that's when we'll start having the conversation about how to address the stormwater in the vicinity, unless there's a specific project and the council directs us to proceed out in that area. So there's a couple options there. So I just want to give the council a little update. I don't know if some of you folks recall that we've been working on that, or maybe not even heard of the project, but it is something that we've got some conceptual designs for and are working forward to in the future. So, are there any specific questions?
Who owns the land where you want the retention basin, and then where exactly, can you show us exactly where the city boundary is, the city line?
So the city boundaries are currently here. Goes all the way over here. No, does it come up?
It's the next chunk up is, there you go.
Yeah, all right, that's right. This is it out. Couldn't remember the line. So there we go. And the area that we're talking about is trying to, it would actually probably be some of this gentleman's property in this vicinity. Is that appropriate, Dan? So I think we got like I said, it's conceptual / preliminary design. So we've looked at elevations. We know it's going to be large. It would operate very similar to the way the detention basin south of here and north of East Robin Road operates. Actually, the developer of this subdivision developed that detention basin, so he's very aware of the stormwater in this area. So this is not something we've never done before. We've done these regional basins. It's how we'd like to proceed. It makes a lot of sense. In the future, we'd like to move in this direction. It just, we can't respond as fast as property selling and developing. So.
And who owns the, to the west, the larger
This
section?
gentleman is, it's a farm family, the Zezer family, and I forget this gentleman's name, but we've spoke to this gentleman before at the time of annexation. I don't know if he's in the audience or not this evening. I don't see that he is. So anyway, that's a little background on the issue, and I'm sure there'll be questions with regard to this. The city engineer is probably going to be more attuned to answer some of the specifics on stormwater, and then Dustin Kern, representing the DX4 Investments, is here, and then his engineer is also here and can address maybe some of the specific concerns within the actual development. So.
Okay.
Tom, I was just curious, when the Skogman development went in, did they put in detention basins too?
They did. They
Okay.
did. They've got detention along almost all of this. There's a ridge line through here, and the water either goes towards this drainage way or goes east towards Albernet Road. And if you'll recall, there was a lot of conversations at that time about stormwater as well. The gentleman south was getting water. I think it was in this vicinity. It was coming into the front area, and he had horses. If you'll recall that conversation, there's a shed out here as well. But the stormwater is actually retained along the west side of the right-of-way of Albernet Road, and you can see I know this isn't the greatest illustration, but it's just so small. This is the detention area. And standard, the water that is required to be detained for 48 hours and released slowly for water quality issues. And Dan can answer all the details to that. But any other questions before I?
Questions? No?
So I know there's a few people in the audience that wanted to speak on this
Okay.
on this issue.
Is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay.
Try not to repeat anything that he
Sure.
was saying,
Well,
but he didn't quite give you all the
Sir?
information there either.
Sir,
Go back.
sir,
His
you're welcome to
thing
speak, but
here.
sir, we just need you to state your name and your address, please. Thank you.
Rod Robert, I live at 2188 Dawn Drive in the county,
Okay.
just to the south of where you're going to put, and I'm really not objecting to your houses,
Okay.
the development. That's going to happen sooner or later anyway. But the retention basin that he's talking about putting in here and that, they was talking about putting a 13.32 retention basin in 2008 when we first moved out there. And that, I don't think that's probably going to be big enough and that, because we're draining down through that little waterway here, everything probably from a quarter of a mile or more north of Echo Hill Road, which according to your maps, I think has already been zoned in. So if you put a retention basin right there at Echo Hill Road, I don't know how big it'd have to be, but a pretty good sized one, and then put another one down there just north of our neighborhood and get rid of that old bridge, and you probably can do that under eminent domain. I think our water problem would be pretty much solved. I'm not sure some of these figures I've got, but the peak runoff that I see on this one chart, which I had to get a magnifying glass to read, in a 100-year event amounted to 122 cubic feet per second. Well, when I went to another website and punched in 122 cubic feet a second of water flow, that equivalents to 2 inches of rain on 1 acre of ground. That's 54,000 some gallons. 1 inch rain on 1 acre of ground is 27,225 gallons. We've been getting notoriously 3 and 4 inches of rainfalls at least 1 or 2, 3 times a summer. When all the ground is saturated out there and that, and it can't really absorb any more water, a 1 inch rain goes over the road. 2 years ago when they were on vacation, it was running 8 inches deep in between my house and his house, And we were out there bailing water out of the window wells in the back of our house, and our whole yard was flooded. Now, I had a generator so I could start the sump pump up, but they were on vacation, their basement flooded. Shannon had just bought the house across the street from me. That guy didn't have a generator, his basement flooded, and I don't know how many of the other people over here along this road where their basements flooded. I know the one corner house right down here, it goes underwater all the time. It's all the time underwater. So if you can at least fix the water problem now, then go ahead and build all the houses you want to build, you know, but fix the water problem.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So do you think that this specific subdivision is going to make things worse?
Yeah, because everything over here on this side of the map, where that school is and these other new housing developments, comes down along the east side of Elbernet Road, crosses underneath Elbernet Road to our side, which that waterway goes down, dumps into a retention pond on Robbins Road, then flows down and dumps in behind the McGrath Supercenter on Marion Boulevard. That's where it dumps in, to Indian Creek. You can, if you want to get a Google Earth up, I'll show you exactly where it goes. And that, but as I say, we're draining all of this. This here, I would like to see, if you're going to put a big enough pond in here, make it deep enough, stock it with fish, and turn it into a park. And that. Then stock it with fish, and we won't have a mosquito problem. You know.
Has the Skogman development changed things? Has that affected things?
Pardon?
The Skogman development?
It's gonna.
Did it? Well, are there houses there now?
They haven't completed anything up there yet.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
They haven't completed anything in what their Skogman's building yet, but it's all going to affect us. The two little ponds they got up there, they're not drain dry ponds. They're going to fill up with water with a half inch of rain.
What I understood Mr. Treharn to say was that for the majority of this, where that ridge is, the water goes away from the area that drains into your subdivision.
One half goes away.
It goes the other way.
The one half comes over to here. The other half goes into the ditch along Elbernet Road. The ditch along Elbernet Road drains into this waterway right down here.
I can't see what you're pointing to.
Your Honor.
Yes.
The waterway comes down right here, along here, up to this corner, down here, and in between these two lots, and dumps in right there. This guy's yard over here floods in across, and you've already got a huge culvert right here. And it dumps in right here in this corner and backs all of this up. It's like flushing your toilet 100 times, and all of a sudden it overflows because your sewer line in your house can't handle it no more, and neither can the one in the street. You know what I mean? So now you got a mess all over your floor. Well, we get messes all over our yard just because this is backing up because it can't get away fast enough. Now, yeah, you can hold it back, but you're going to have a pretty good-sized ponds and pretty deep ponds to hold it back long enough that it's not flooding everybody.
Okay. Okay.
All I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Please state your name and your
David
address.
Carver, 2192 Dawn Drive. My house is right here where this water comes in here.
Okay.
And yes, we are draining all this way down through here, and it zigzags its way through the house addition. But all the water that comes off this side comes down around, and it all meets right here on the south side of our addition, and it can't get through this old abandoned bridge. It's a road that's been given back to the Clobex, you know. There's a bridge there, and it's just like all that water trying to choke down and go through a giant culvert that's not big enough, you know. So if we could get that removed, maybe we could flow a little more water through the addition without backing it up the way it is. I mean, my house, Rod's house, and And Joe across the street, our homes become islands every time we get a couple, 3 inches of rain. All that water coming down there.
Is that bridge still usable?
No, it's just a dirt berm with an old cement bridge. It used to be a dirt road years ago, the way I understand it. And at one time, when I first moved, I moved to the addition in 1988, and at the time, the Rachi construction owner lived out there. We all got together, he had volunteered the equipment, and we got permission from Globex. We were going to take it out ourselves. But in the last minute, Globex kind of decided maybe they didn't want that extra water coming back on past their farm, So that kind of went in the dumper that time. But that's the closest we've ever come to getting that bridge removed. And I know the city's going to keep growing to the north, but I appreciate you keep doing what you can for the water retention basins, And if we could, maybe get that big one started up here or something, pushed ahead in the timeline as the additions grow. I'm sure you're going to build more houses up here north of Echo Hill Road. That's in the works too. So, but like I say, everything, even though we're on the ridge on this side, everything on that side, it all drains together. It all has to come together south of our housing addition here and go through that hole and go down Dry Creek and get to Indian Creek. And it really backs up bad.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Your Honor, I want to address the question. Tom, do we have any perk tests on that land out there as far as what the saturation level is for that land?
No.
No?
We would not do anything like that on private property.
Sure.
My name is Joe Molitor. My address is 2197 Dawn Drive. I'm the person that's got the house on the corner of Dawn and Lion, right on the corner. I just want to expand a little bit on, we were talking about the Skogman development, and believe me, I'm not against housing developments going on out there. But I've lived out there now, this will be my 4th winter, and the waterway is always frozen over, always. This year it's run all year. Even when first part of January, middle of January, when it was below zero for 3 days, there was still water running in that ditch. Now, I know they did some tiling, up in the area. I live in this house right here. I know they did some tiling back in there a year or so ago, but I'm not sure that's what's causing it, but I can't figure out why this water is running when it's below zero. I mean, it hasn't frozen over solid. So I'm thinking it's probably from the Skogman development, but I don't know that. Of course, when they cleaned out all the crops and the dirt and the cover, naturally you're going to lose a lot. You're going to lose a lot of erosion and water's going to run. I mean, there's nothing to hold it back after they scraped it all off. But I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit because there is a definite water problem.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Is there anyone else? Okay.
Here's good enough for Jesus. It's good enough for me.
It's good enough for us.
I've lived in this Douglas Drive neighborhood. My name is Bob Parrish, 2185 Douglas Drive. Let me find the spot. I'm over along this spot over here. So I've owned the property for almost 41 years and lived there more than 39, so I have some experience. But I'm not the most senior resident there. Probably shouldn't say this in public, but in 93, one of the vacant lots, let me get the spot, right over here, that house was not there. In 93, I windsurfed on that lot that summer. We remember how wet 93 was. And one of my neighbors accused me of surfing in the back ditch, but that's kind of a joke. Our problem is the peak runoff. We can't change how much it rains, how fast, and we can't change gravity about water running downhill. Does anyone know in this room how many total acres drains through our 31? There's 31 homes. There's 32 one-acre lots here. One lot only has garages. Nobody lives on it currently. Never had a house on it. So 31 families live in this neighborhood. And as long as I've lived there, anytime it's a wet year, one of the homes, for example, that I happen to know has been flooded 5 times, the basement flooded. And the one owner that lived there at the time in '93 got their basement flooded. This house is a split foyer, so the basement is not deep. It got flooded 3 times in '93. We could discount '93 and me windsurfing as a very wet year. When it rains, and like 2 summers ago, our power was off. That was the problem. But you cannot drive in and out on either major road because they're too far underwater. There may be 6 inches, maybe more at the peak, running across the road for maybe 300 foot or more in length. I have plenty of pictures, I just didn't bring them. TV crews have been out many times, and we've been on the news, but no one would remember all this. Marion has Indian Creek, of course, it has many wet things. So I guess what we would ask for is, when you develop the land north of us, and you put in storm drains, you increase the peak runoff, and it's the peak runoff is where we get hurt. I guess I would ask another question here. The retention basin south of us on this waterway, just north of East Robbins Road, that one seems to work very well because it restricts the peak runoff on downstream toward Thomas Park, which we know what Thomas Park becomes. And our tributary is one of the ones that feeds. And our tributary feeds that retention basin I'm speaking of. That retention basin works well because when it's not raining after 24 or 48 hours, it slowly, completely drains out. So when it starts to rain, the flow comes in, exceeds the outlet pipe, so it builds up and retains water. Now a question, the new neighborhoods just east of our property, just east of Alburnett Road, have some nice small retention basins. My problem is they look nice, but they never drain out. So if they're half or 3/4 full year round, when a rain then comes, they have no capacity to hold any additional water. So what is the design point to that? They look nice, wildlife fly in and float there. I moved a turtle over to one of them last year that we found in the backyard because our neighborhood was too dry at the time because it wasn't raining. So I guess my point is, what is the design criteria? The retention pond just north of East Robbins Road looks like a good design, and it's fair size. It was ground they had that was in the waterway that they could not put any homes on. It was the best use for it. And of course, that is what we need just north and west of our property, which we've just talked about here.
Thank you.
Your Honor, what I might ask, and if it works, would be maybe an explanation from the actual engineer of the project on what the water is doing, and then maybe Dan can explain what we engineer to for the neighborhood.
Because it sounds like this problem has existed since the beginning of time. But what we need to get to the bottom of is, how is this subdivision going to affect that?
Dustin Kern, 4246 Churchill Drive in Marion. I'm the developer. I'm not the engineer, but before I bring my engineer up, I just want to say a couple things. One, as Tom mentioned, I was firsthand involved in the detention basin to the south. Actually, the first meeting I ever had in this city was with Dan Whitlow in 2004, and I'm the one who acquired the land and worked out the deal with the city, did the development. It worked out fantastic, but it was a very proactive process, and I'd say more proactive on the private sector, and unfortunately the private sector isn't always as proactive as larger areas need to be. I would urge the city, and I've offered, and I offer again with staff, anything that I personally can do to further the opportunity for a regional detention basin to the south and to the west of Bedford Heights. It would be a fantastic thing for the city. It'd be a fantastic thing for the area, and certainly would help a lot of the residents here. For what it's worth, I know the property owner, and I bought land from him before, so I would be happy to approach him. That doesn't solve the short-term concern, I guess, and I'm very sympathetic to all the discussions. I don't sleep well at all anytime it rains because I generally get phone calls and projects. And I don't even build homes, I just develop, and I go out there the next day and meet with people and try to offset concerns. But I think it's something that if there's anything that the city can do, if the property's in the county, I don't know, I guess maybe the city can talk to the county and try to work something. I remember talking about the little bridge years ago when I developed Highview, and anything that we can do to proactively proceed with those discussions would be a good thing. So I can't get into peak flows and CFSs and different things. I'll let Jed Schnorr from Schnorr Bonifazi do that, but like I said, I'm here to help, and I don't want to cause any additional issues with folks. I'm just trying to run a business and develop land based upon the standards. Quick clarification, 2/3 of the site, the easterly 2/3 does go to the east. Again, it does wrap back around, but it's not half, it's 2/3. The first phase is about the easterly half of the site that goes to the east. There's probably a 2 or 3 year build out before I further any development to the west and get closer to that third that would go to the west and to the south. So notwithstanding my development at Skogman, I know there's things happening to the north as well. So I think now's the time. Staff knows that, they're talking about it. I've met with them. So again, anything I can do to help,
Well, what has county done? Have they been approached? Have they been?
I can't speak for that. Yeah, I'm proposing a project in the city.
Well, I know
I'd be more than happy to speak with the county. Here's the thing as well. When I do work close to the site, I'll bring equipment out there. I mean, I would like to go out there and remove the dang thing myself. I've tried to call Lori Klobeck numerous times over the past few years, and she doesn't return my phone call either.
Well, I know that, a landowner wants to sell so many lots and all this, and let's face it, you can't build a house in a retention basin.
Right.
And so that's kind of, but I don't know, I sympathize with the folks that get flooded out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially with sump pumps and all this, trying to work overtime.
Thank you.
Hi, Jed Schnorr, the civil engineer on the project, and what we're proposing is a basin on the east side just to service our portion of the site. And that basin will decrease the peak flow from our site to the pre-developed 5-year. But at the same time, there's 160 some acres that drain by our site that is off-site area that passes through. And to help the neighbors downstream, we can't do that on our site 100%. But everything the developer does to take that peak down it's gonna help them long term. And as these areas will develop more and more basins, it's slowly gonna take that peak down. But when it's a farm field, everything runs off at once, and there's nothing to stop it. So,
Would you point out where the detention basins are in the development, and what they will?
The first basin that's going to be put in is on Lot A here, and it's a long, narrow basin, and it's going to hold roughly between 2 and 3 acre feet of water, which there's roughly 18 acres draining to it, and it's going to fill up, and it's going to, like I said, it's going to take the peak away from the development, the peak flow, as the gentleman was stating about what we need to control. That's causing them all the problems is the peak flow from these farm fields.
But it's not going to exacerbate the peak flow that they're concerned about. Is that accurate to say?
Yep. And the other basin will be over here, unless a regional basin is built where in its place.
If there's a regional basin, that won't go in?
I would assume so.
That won't
If the
be
city
needed.
and the developer
Won't be needed?
The two concerns that I have that run into a project like this is I used to live on Eastview. And those of you that are familiar with Eastview, that was a running river in the backyards as well too. Those were acre lots, just like these are. There's two issues when we start encroaching into urban areas. One is we're cutting into field tile that was originally designed to be fed into the mainstream. We cannot stop the water. All we can do is control the water. So what happens is we lose the natural filtering process of rains and the shedding of water where these lands are going to pick it up. I don't have a huge concern with what's being proposed on the retention ways from the curb streets. My biggest concern is the waters that are coming down through these natural creekways that will be increased flow because there's nowhere else for it to go. And it's going to continue to keep following its normal path right down through that way. Perk tests are something that is done when we put in septic tanks. They basically drill a hole, fill it with water, and measure how quickly the hole empties. That is a perk test that generates results and standards as to how quickly the water is filtering through there. In the area that I'm referring to, that was very sandy soil, so the water moved very quickly and it percolated out very quickly. I am concerned about this. I'm concerned about the waters that are going through those yards. I'm concerned about controlling it. We've got numerous places in the area. Newcastle was a prime example of that, where they went back and put crushed rock on the sides and the banks of that creek to try to control that flow. I do have concerns for this. And I think we got to come up with a plan to control the water in the best means possible so it's not overflowing back into existing properties. That's the problem we run into with agriculture. Some of those tiles that gentleman was talking about, water running in the middle of January and December with low temperatures, currently today we use perforated tile that runs very close to the surface, so we don't have to worry about it. Years ago, that clay tile was buried very deep, and so those sometimes are below the frost line, and so that's where a lot of that water is running out when we have those low temperatures. I'm very familiar with agriculture, and I know how that works, so I do share your concerns with that. And when we can't get city vehicles in there because roads are flooding, we got to address those issues, because now we've created a second problem. And I've had basements flood as well, too. I've been there. I've done that. I'm an insurance agent by day. I know exactly what you're dealing with. So I share those concerns.
And you think that the development will make it worse?
I do to some degree, because when we lay concrete, there's no place for the water to go. So when we create concrete in one spot, we got to help divert it. That's the nature. That's the natural part of this process. Water's got to go somewhere. We got to control it. And like I said, when we're laying concrete and we're developing curbs and storm sewers and putting retention ponds, that'll take care of the problems for those streets. But it doesn't take care of the problem where we lose that natural filtration process of rolling it into the fields and letting it absorb it like it naturally does. And it increases those flows of volumes. I've been there.
Dan, do you have anything to add? Excuse me 1 second, please.
There
Okay.
several times, because I know we're draining everything off of this side over to our side right in here. This little waterway right in here, I've seen that going across his yard being 100 feet wide. I don't know how deep, because I didn't get out and wade into it, but I know it's been several times 100 feet wide across there. And more than not, even with a small rainfall, it's 25 feet edge to edge and that. And it'll flow for days before it finally quits flowing. Because before I bought the house I got, I actually looked at one right there and seen that waterway flowing through his backyard, turned around, drove out. I don't want, when it's raining hard up here, all this water coming through the middle of my backyard there. So we drove out and ended up buying the one I got now. And most of the time, yeah, it only lasts maybe an hour and it's gone. But it just creates one great big mess.
Thank you. Dan, do you have anything to add?
Our system provides for that adaptation or adjustment or engineering for that pre versus post development. We deal with that peak flow. This does address all of the hard surface area that's placed in the development, not just the streets, but that is for a smaller storm, but it does affect that peak period that comes down through this area as it does anywhere. Everything east of there that's developed has that same stormwater detention. We tend to see, as these areas develop, especially in the spring when we have frost, these areas tend to be better after the development than before because the runoff of a frozen field is about 100%, whereas with basins and so forth, we get some of that peak is detained. As far as the wet basins over there, those are designed to be wet, but they also, the freeboard above the existing water is the area of detention. So even though they're wet all the time, they're still detaining the required amount necessary to meet our code.
Okay. So in your opinion, is this addition going to affect things in a negative way for the people down?
Well, even if it would only affect those lots probably in the south. Those south are 4 or 5 lots which flood continuously. And I've had, when Mayor Nealon was here, we had a lot of conversations with the county talking about this area. I don't know what years those were, but we looked at regional basins all over the city. This was one of them that came out of that conversation. Steve Gannon, who's the county engineer, who's been there forever, he was here during the time of the development of that addition, and the county did everything they could to keep this development from going forward. But it did, and they continue to be the houses below on the lower end of there. Those lots were underwater at the time they built, just before they built the houses. So it is an ongoing problem. It was a problem that was identified early in the whole development scheme, but here we are today with it. There are some solutions. The basin that we're proposing, the regional basin, which we will bring at the next meeting, and what we had actually intended to do that in the fall. We will look at that. That will reduce the peak, which is what we want to do. It will not hold the water from the entire basin area. We could not ever build a basin that big. But this will create those peaks, reduce those peaks during those times and hold the water back until it can be released slowly through the neighborhood.
So the regional basin is in place in terms of a project that's going to happen?
No, it's not. We were actually bringing it to council to put it on for discussion to see how we would fund it, whether we would move forward. We have preliminary design, but we don't have final design. So we're looking at ways of moving it forward. Probably the biggest catch of it all is that over half that basin is in Cedar Rapids. So our typical process for developing a regional basin is to build it, pay for it, and then charge those fees against the developers that build upstream from it. Well, we would have to find a mechanism to charge those fees to development that occurs in Cedar Rapids to be able to get those fees back. I see that as a pretty big complication, but maybe it'll go better than I think. But we have to find some way to fund it first. It's a substantial amount of money.
So the resolution we have before us this evening and then is that red box.
That's correct.
Correct?
Yes.
And if I could just say one other word too as well. One of the concerns I would have with, with regard to, yes, this is an issue. There's a 3 to 5 year build out on the first phase. First phase probably 20 lots? 28 lots. If development is halted until such time, because by virtue of any kind of a denial on this preliminary plat, you're halting development. There's over, including this property, there's probably almost 100 acres on the table in process for development in this area. It's probably going to be the most highly developed area in the next coming years with relationship to the city. If the halting is not going to cause the projects to move forward quickly, because the development's going to drive the project. That's why we haven't done it yet. Until we have players at the table that want to see something happen in the area, we really can't address it. So it's almost like with the Highview development. That came at the time when the property became under contract for development, and we could actually negotiate how much land we need to be within a basin that also was within a development plan. So when we bring a preliminary plat forward, we can say we need so many acres, and then we can start the conversation of how big that basin is going to be. If you look at that map just north of the red area at the intersection of Echo Hill, and Alburnett. Currently, that development, the lighter yellow colored, this area is currently being preliminary platted. We just reviewed it today. There are two, and the same engineering firm is going to be handling that. And there's a large basin proposed here and a large basin proposed here. But the only way those are going to get built is if the development is allowed to continue. And I know that's probably not what everybody in this room wants to hear, but it's the reality of how that happens. It's a partnership that we have with the development community to try and fix the problems that created over time. It's unfortunate that this neighborhood's it was built in a low area, and it's a difficult problem to solve. We've got several developments where we can point to where this occurred. There was a period in time when the low area in a development couldn't be farmed, they put houses on it, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what happened. So anyway, I just want to bring up the fact that how that development occurs and those basins occur, it's generally with partnerships through the development community. So, and I think we have time now, because if you think about the acres that are being developed, there's still 3 to 5 years before you're going to see that full development. Skogman platted that property south, and there's 5 homes on it. I would say that over the next 3 to 5 years is the time frame, especially if we start seeing more plats, that we need to really focus in on that basin and start the conversation with the landowners. So anyway, just so the council's aware of kind of how those projects come together.
In your opinion, is there anything else that could have been done or should have been done on site to?
Within this development under consideration?
Yeah, to make things better.
No, they're meeting.
Or have they done what they can? Or?
Yeah, they're doing what they can with regard to the development. They're required to retain their water from that property to a certain standard. They're doing that. The west side, as a matter of fact, I don't know at that west-southwest side, they're putting a basin in that'll slow down that water. And then if the regional's constructed, they'd actually be able to build those lots potentially. But at the time, they're not going to develop the lots. They're going to allow the detention will occur there. So that's what happens with the partnership too, is you don't have all of these smaller ponds that kind of create a nightmare when you have one larger one that you can control. And if you've ever, I'm sure you've seen the one north of East Robbins Road, it fills up. I live in that neighborhood, and everybody gets a little antsy. But the engineering mechanism that we're working with, that will go over the road before any house in the neighborhood north of it will flood. So there's a lot of engineering standards that go into the project. They were not in effect when this development went in, the one that the folks live in. And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Dan, you said that with what's being done on site in this subdivision in terms of water detention, that accounts for or accommodates the issue that Randy pointed to in terms of more concrete, less area for the
It addresses all the impervious area within the site. It doesn't just, he had mentioned roads, and I just want to clarify that. It addresses all the post-development, brings that down, that extra runoff down to a pre-development level.
Okay.
It addresses the runoff.
Right. Okay.
Which I think in this case, you're saying the runoff in this particular development, and I would agree with you, is going to contain its own water runoff, which in looking at the maps and so forth, I don't think, in my opinion, that development there is going to be as a big of issue as we continue on going to the northwest of that whole plat area up there, because I understand the topical graph as far as how the water flows, and it's probably going to be even a little bit helpful, obviously having the retention on the north side of that being held back up on Alburnett Road, which is going to keep and restrict that water from flowing south and obviously hindering the saturation process. So I totally understand that, and I would agree with it.
And when areas are saturated from earlier storms and stuff, those are when we really see those big peaks. And the gentleman is correct. Those are the issues that they have, are those big rains after other rains. We have that all over the city because Marion's water table is so high that we get a little bit of a rain, we get full saturation, and then we end up all over the city having flooding, whether it's in basements that you don't see or in streets or creeks. I mean, Indian Creek is very flashy. It will come up and down very quickly. That is because of that ongoing saturation we experience through most of the year.
So basically, you're saying that the solution to the whole thing is either build a houseboat or stilts, right?
Okay, any other discussion? Any discussion?
No, Your Honor.
We're ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 25128, approving Bedford Heights Addition preliminary plat for property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Elburnett Road, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
Your Honor, I will respectfully abstain from 25128 resolution.
Okay. Reason?
Conflict of interest.
Okay. So we have one abstention. Motion passes. Number 28.
Your Honor, I move to approve. Go ahead.
Thank you for people who spoke and gave us your comments, and I think we see the importance of this issue. And it sounds like the Development Department and the Engineering Department are very well aware of the issue and are working on resolving it. So, thank you. Okay, sorry.
No problem. I move to approve a motion to receive and file a correspondence requesting a review of the city code regarding elections. Charles Knutson, 2835 24th Avenue.
Second?
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to receive and file correspondence requesting a review of the city code regarding elections. Discussion?
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Charlie wrote a letter, and it was in effect that in past years that an individual who is nominated by a ward and has received the majority of the votes from that ward lost the election because it was a citywide election. And what he would like to see is that if you are representing a ward, that only those ward people in that ward can vote for their representative, which really makes a lot of sense because they are the ones who know what is going on in their area. And there are 2 at large, plus the mayor is at large, so there is an opportunity for citywide voices to be heard.
Okay. So this is, we're voting here to receive and file the correspondence, and then we will follow up on it with whatever discussion
I
we
would
need
like
on
to
it.
see it followed up on, and it's
Yeah.
probably going to have to
But we will.
change the way it's written in the code, right, Don?
Yes, that would require changing the code.
Yeah, so but
I
the
think-
first step is to receive and file the letter, and then, correct, and then
I think it would be
then we would have a discussion about it at some point. I mean,
move to
we would
direct the
put it on an
city
agenda
attorney
to talk
to-
about it and decide what we want to do. Okay?
Was that not put to a vote by the citizens a few years ago? And
I'm sorry?
wasn't that voted on by the citizens a
Is
few
that-
years ago to change that to the current way it
Is that a citizen
I
vote,
don't
Don?
think so. It was just,
It's in the original charter.
yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of unusual. It was, we're a home rule city, so we had a home rule charter commission that developed a proposed charter, which was then voted on by all the people.
So what would it require to change the charter with respect to that?
Yeah,
item?
vote, the people would have to vote on it.
It would be on a ballot?
Yes.
Okay.
But at that time, too, the population was considerably less than it is now
Right.
per each of these wards, so.
Yeah, there's some other things that you'll need to consider. I'm not sure I know all of them right off the top of my head now, but right now, if a ward council member moves to another house in the city, it doesn't create a problem because those people had the opportunity to vote for that person also. So it doesn't vacate his office by moving. But if you make it a ward where they're nominated from the ward and elected from the ward, if they move out of that ward into a different house, by statute, they vacate their seat. They're out. So that'll be a collateral change.
Okay.
And there may be others. I mean, we've got to think this thing through and then report back to you.
Okay. Well, for now, again, we're receiving and filing it, and then we'll proceed with following up on it. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to receive and file the correspondence from Mr. Knutson regarding the review of the city code regarding elections, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Number 32.
Move to approve a motion to receive and file the following replaced, revised, or new full-time job descriptions for the library, A through M.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to receive and file the following replaced, revised, or new full-time job descriptions for the library as listed in items A through M on the agenda. Discussion?
Well, I think at this time, there is not enough room up there to add any librarians. I mean, there's just not any more office space. It seems Jack left, didn't he?
Yeah, I was just looking for him.
But it seems that this would be something to put off until the library situation is resolved.
Wasn't this just, they were
This is a receive and file, but,
Right.
you know, for this to go any further than just to receive and file, I think it should be considered after the library situation is resolved.
Sure.
Okay, any other discussion on that? All those in favor of the motion to receive and file the revised or new full-time job descriptions for the library, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, number 34.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 25133, support of the Wayland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25133, supporting the Wyland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Discussion?
I think at this point, it would behoove us to declare a moratorium on the upcoming summer season, especially with watering lawns and washing cars and even splash pads because of the condition of the water out of the Echo Hills well, which the EPA is on top of. I've talked to them. But I understand that well number 5 on Fifth, no, it's not number 5, it's on Fifth Avenue. The well that's almost to 31st Street is not operating well. Is that true? I mean,
Not that I've heard of, but.
and the quality of water in Marion, which used to be the place that people would come and get water from Cedar Rapids to take home because it was so good. And it's bad now. And it's the Jordan Aquifer, which is decreasing. And I just think that just this using water, I think we should have a moratorium.
I think the 31st Street side is a storage only now.
I'm sorry?
The 31st Street site is a storage only facility. There's no pumping there.
There's no pumping there.
Right.
Well.
So.
Any other discussion on this? Ready to vote? Okay. All is in favor of approving resolution number 25133, supporting the Wyland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay. Ready?
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve consent calendar for Mayor Abousli, Abstention from voting and discussion regarding the following items as presented. Number 39, Resolution 25135, approving partial payment. Number 14, to Martin Gardner Architecture for public service facility design services in the amount of $3,240.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25135. Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Okay. Randy?
Your Honor, make a motion on ordinance number 15-02, amending Chapter 105 of the Code of Ordinances to allow the municipal collections of designated non-residential generators initial consideration.
Second?
Did you mean 1602?
Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. 16-02.
You lost me.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-02, amending Chapter 105 of the Code of Ordinances to allow for municipal collections of designated non-residential generators. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I will put this for consideration, although I disagree with it. Resolution 25,136, approving recommendation from the Local Option Sales Tax Advisory Committee regarding a $280,000 fiscal year 16 corporate purpose allocation. And this is for the low parking, I understand.
Second?
Okay, so
I'm not moving for it, I'm just putting it out for
you've
consideration.
moved it, but you may not vote for it.
That is correct.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25136, approving the recommendation from the Local Option Sales Tax Advisory Committee regarding a $280,000 fiscal year 2016 corporate purpose allocation. Discussion. Mike, is there anything you wanted to?
Sure, if I could give a quick explanation to this item. At the December 2015 meeting of the Marion Park Board, they moved to reallocate $280,000 that were earmarked for construction of a pavilion in Thomas Legion Park, and move that funding to the development of Lau Park, specifically for Park Road, parking lot, trails, lighting, and playground development. The Marion Local Option Sales Tax Advisory Committee at its February 17, 2016 meeting reviewed the Lau Park project and the request for reallocation of the lost funds. The advisory committee determined and voted that the reallocation does comply with the ballot language associated with the corporate purpose spending extended local option sales tax plan.
Okay. Any questions for Mike? Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 25136, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No?
We have one no. Okay.
Resolution number 25137, approving a stop signs stopping east and westbound traffic on 11th Avenue at its intersection with 12th Street.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25137, approving a stop sign stopping east and west bound traffic on 11th Avenue at its intersection with 12th Street.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
could you ask to see if Miss Copeland Marvin is here?
Is Ms. Copeland?
She has a hyphenated name, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I don't see the name here, but okay.
No, it's not. She was the one that made the
Audience?
request.
Okay. No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything to report on that or comment?
No, I do not. TAC recommended the change.
Okay.
We will give it a try. Hopefully the accidents will increase, but will not increase. I'm not sure if this is exactly what you wanted, but we did evaluate all 16 intersections, 5 of which were unregulated. This is the only one that we found that we considered having an issue. So.
Okay. So it is a recommendation to do this?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the resolution number 25137, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, this is resolution number 25138, approving Rosenberger addition final plat and memorandum of agreement to Lynn County for property located at 1345 Martin Creek Road. Joe and Margaret Rosenberger, owner.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25138, approving Rosenberger addition final plat and memorandum of agreement to Lynn County for property located at 1345 Martin Creek Road. Discussion?
Is this on the other side of Highway 100 there, across 13?
This is, and I'd just like to point out that this is one of those subdivisions that the city has reviewed jurisdiction within the county 2 miles outside of our boundaries. So we work with Lynn County when there's a subdivision within our 2 mile, we call it the 2 mile limit, and we'll review it, bring it to council for review prior to Lynn County proceeding with it. And this is one of those developments, just for, so it meets our standards. It's consistent with what.
That clear? Okay. Questions for Tom or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 25138, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 1601, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding request to rezone property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Albernet Road from A1 rural restricted to R2 medium density single family residential. DX4 investments, second consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-01, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances to rezone property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Albernet Road from A1 rural restricted to R2 medium density single family residential. Discussion? No discussion? Okay. Anything to add? Okay. We'll vote then. All those in favor of ordinance number 16-01, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
Your Honor, I have to respectfully abstain from ordinance number 16-01.
Okay.
Your Honor, in that case, then, if he is refraining from voting and we are missing a council member, it doesn't fall within the purview of suspension of the rules.
Right.
Okay.
Because there was a request, you had a request to move it on, didn't you? Yeah, we can't.
Okay, so the second consideration is approved, and then we'll do a third consideration at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
I'm going to have,
And you noted the one abstention, correct? Okay, go ahead.
then does that push number 3 then?
Yes,
number
that's
4?
right. So now so number 3 is,
Do we need to read that or not?
No,
Still need to
because
receive and file it,
we
though,
don't
don't
have.
I'm sorry, number
with the abstention.
Okay, go ahead. 3. Go ahead with number 3.
Okay. Your Honor, we make motion then to receive and file a request to waive the final reading of ordinance number 16-01.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to receive and file a request to waive the final reading of ordinance number 16-01. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
Your Honor, I have to abstain from this motion of 16-01.
Okay.
And because of
So
the
number
lack
4
of votes,
is,
needing a majority of 6
Correct.
votes, which we do not have.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding Hy-Vee's preliminary site development plan for property located at 3600 Highway 151. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who, or do we have a presentation on this first? Yes. Thank you.
You're doing great.
generally I'd go through a location of this site, but I'm fairly certain everybody knows where Hy-Vee is. The proposed preliminary and final site development plan that are on the agenda this evening are with regard to basically a reskinning and expansion of the existing facility located at 35th and 151. I think it's a fairly exciting project from the perspective of the community. The Hy-Vee has been located here for many years, and I think it's one of those that when you start seeing Mount Vernon Road redone in Edgewood, it's nice to see that the one in Marion's coming forward as well. Representatives from Hy-Vee are in the audience, and we've had a great deal of conversation with residents in the area related to the project. The Planning Commission has reviewed this at the February February Planning Commission meeting. Even prior to that, the representative from Hy-Vee met with the neighborhood to talk about concerns that they may have with the project and with the store. I think one of the biggest points to this project, and the council is pretty aware of this based on the presentation at the Tuesday work session. If there's more comments or questions from the audience, I'd be happy to come back up and go into great detail about it. But I think just one of probably the biggest changes to the site is going to be the relocation of the C-store from where it's currently located on the corner over to where the detention basin is, just southeast of the store. With regard to that, Hy-Vee is going to have to replace that retention and detention of water. They're going to place it underneath the parking lot. So it's an underground water storage system. So it's something a little different. Generally you see it in tight sites like this one is, and in areas that are very urbanized. So they are still meeting the detention requirements within the code that we've spoke about earlier within the subdivision regs. Sites are required to do that as well. So that's being done. I do want to just kind of illustrate, this is a good illustration of what the front side of the gas station is going to look like. So you see brick, stone, very nice looking facility. We have design standards for this area. Certainly meets and exceeds the standards for the central corridor plan. The actual elevation of the building as well, you can see the brick and stucco, or ephes, I guess is what you'd call it, along the front side, and some canopies over the entrance. The project is certainly consistent with the zoning that's in place. It's an existing facility. And there was a lot of details in the staff report with regarding to intricacies of the actual parking and signage. It's a phased development. I don't know how much you guys want me to go into this, but the first phase is going to be relocating the C-store and then working the parking lot and stormwater issues. And then they're going to move to the west side of the parking lot. Finally, they're going to move into the addition and the west side of the building. One of the things that I think is unique to this project, and I think it's pretty exciting for the community, is going to be within the parking lot. There's an internal walkway that provides safe access for patrons to walk to the front of the building by virtue of a landscaped median, so that if you have children, kids, or if you have a cart full of items to return, you're not walking in the drive aisle. So it's a very safe project. There's also a number of other just interesting pieces to this. I think there's an electrical charging station within the site. So if you have an electric car, you can pull in, plug in while you shop and charge your vehicle. There's a wind mill proposed as well within the parking to create some of that energy. Just as another point, the seasonal garden will change from the west side where it is to the front side out into the area here identified. One of the things that just from a neighborhood concern perspective, there's quite a bit of traffic that has been generated over the years to the neighborhood by virtue of cut-through traffic. I think the police department's responded to issues of trespass out here before. That's what was indicated at some of the public meetings. People will actually come through the neighborhoods to the north and down the steep slope and into Hy-Vee, or from the manufactured housing park over here. They'll come over, walk up through to get to the swim pool. So there has been a concern with cut through. I know that lighting has been an issue as well as some of the generator noise. These were all brought out primarily at the time when Hy-Vee went out and actually held a neighborhood meeting, which I think was a great effort on their behalf. There's been fencing proposed that will address some of the trespass. I think Dave went out last evening and spoke to a resident regarding some of the light trespass as well, and they've provided extensive landscaping and fencing requirements to the site. I think they've went above and beyond trying to mitigate all the issues and concerns, I feel, and certainly the Planning Commission is recommending approval, and staff is recommending approval as well. If there's any questions on the specifics of the site, I'd be happy to address those. And I know representatives from Hy-Vee are in the audience as well.
Any questions for Tom? Okay.
Public hearing, so we don't get to talk yet.
Right. Oh, that's right. Thank you.
I'll keep you straight.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the project? Please come forward. Okay. Yes. You would be in favor of the project, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Good evening. My name is Casey Bonger, 5820 West Town Parkway, West Des Moines, Iowa, 50266, and I am representing Hy-Vee. I am Director of Real Estate there. Thank you for considering this evening, and thank you to the city staff on getting us to this point. So we're excited about this project. Obviously, as you're aware, the parking lot and building they need some improvements at this point, and we feel now is a good time to look at an expansion and really helping the flow of the traffic in the parking lot by moving the gas station over to where we have proposed. So as Tom had stated, we are willing to accept, extending our 8-foot fence on the northwest, north, and northeast sides of our property, and then also extending the fence from our lot, or from our fence to the Collins Community Credit Union fence, to hopefully deter some of the trespassing that has been happening. And then also adding some landscaping in front of that fence to also deter from jumping over the fence. So we have been in contact with Collins Community Credit Union as well in regards to a potential utility easement. If things don't work out that way, we do have other options on site as well. Are there any questions for me regarding this?
Can you tell us what is the proposal for the fencing? For example, are we talking chain link? Is it PVC in the height of it?
It's not chain link. It will be wood or composite of some sort. I don't think that's been determined quite yet. I know the existing fence is a wood fence.
Okay.
But we're just looking at it for maintenance issues too.
Sure. And what is the proposed height of the fence?
8 feet.
8 feet. Okay. Thank you.
I know that when this project first started, that there was a lot of concern by the neighborhood. Did any of those folks come forward to express their dislike or like or whatever?
Yes, we did have a neighborhood meeting, and some concerns were expressed at that point, and that's kind of when we decided to extend the fence and add some landscaping. And
I do have one question. Yeah. Would this walkway through the parking lot, would that be ever considered to be covered?
I don't think so, not at this point. We have done this in the past where we have added the sidewalk in the middle and think that, that is sufficient for our customers.
Because that looks like a pretty big parking lot, and if the weather is inclement, it would be nice to, be able to duck in.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone wishes to speak, who's opposed to the project, wishes to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll have discussion, correct? No, we need the motion first, okay.
Resolution first, if that's all right with you.
Proceed.
Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25,139, approving Hy-Vee preliminary site development plan for property located at 3600 Highway 151, and it's the Hy-Vee Food Stores Incorporated.
Second?
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25139, approving the Hy-Vee preliminary site development plan for property located at 3600 Highway 151. Now discussion.
I had a question for Dan on our stormwater. Does that change the credits? Will that, the way they're doing this, will the credits go up or down?
They won't change. They're currently under the 50% reduction rule, and they'll continue to do that. It'll still be that way.
It'll stay the same then?
Yes.
Okay, and then a question for the Casey, is that right? For the compactors that are located at the very back of the store. Yeah, why don't you come? Are those inside the building, or are they outside the building?
They're outside the building.
Outside. Is there any sound baffling or anything? These, I take it, are cardboard type compactors?
Correct. Yeah, I would have to ask, I guess, the neighbors regarding that.
Yeah, those can be very noisy.
Mm-hmm.
They are very noisy.
Yeah.
So,
and we do have those at all of our stores, so that is
right. Yeah, I guess I would like to know if there's anything.
Maybe one question would be is if there's any there now, and if there's Joe, I don't know if they're adding more. That may be a concern. If there's one there now, and if there's would that address maybe what you're looking at?
Yeah, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not certain if we're adding any more. I would doubt it, but that's something that I would have to ask.
Yeah, can you get back with
Yes.
Tom? And
Yep, absolutely.
I would appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Any other discussion on this? Oh, the public hearing was finished, but if you have a comment, a short comment, you please come on up. Okay. State your name and your address, please. Thank you.
My name's Joe Connor. I live at 1340 40th Street Place in Marion. And the compactor noise, I've been talking to some of the neighbors because I live directly behind the Hy-Vee, and the compactor noise has been a concern. And if they're going to add more compactors there, that would be, because it's quite noisy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they can do about that, but I just want to make that comment, and thanks for letting me come up and speak.
Thank you.
Is this a continual noise, or is it during certain hours, or what?
They're usually, I think it's when the delivery trucks get there in the morning.
So is that real early, or
Yeah.
So if maybe a restriction was put on that it couldn't start until?
I don't know if that makes any
I don't know
difference,
if that's even possible to do, but would that help?
I don't know. I'm just stating that it does make noise. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Joe, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with an 8-foot fence?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And Dave came out this morning, and we talked about that.
Okay, good.
But thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Well, things can't start, like the trash trucks can't go out, garbage trucks can't go out until 7 o'clock and things like this. And if these compactors would run at a reasonable time, when people aren't trying to sleep, I guess.
Well, these are crushing cardboard, so anytime they stock the shelves and then
overnight,
right, and they get
generate
that.
cardboard.
But I would think that there's a way to restrict the time that this compacting is taking place.
Right. But if you're retired, that may make them run at 10 o'clock in the morning, right?
Well, yeah, some of us. I would insist on that, yes.
Do you have a comment on that?
Yes, and that's something I'll take back and I'll check and see, the timing on when that is happening and, see if there's a way that we can cut back on the noise and see if there's anything being added. That's something I'll definitely take back because I don't know that answer at this
Well,
point.
I think their neighbors would appreciate that, so.
I just have one thing I'm going to put out there. I do have experience in grocery store business, so I know exactly what you're dealing with, and it will be very difficult they have to withhold their waste internally if they have limited hours that they can run those. But I do know they have suppression systems that they can put on those motors, because that's what it's doing, is the motor's turned on, which drives the hydraulic pumps. I don't think it would be fair to say you can't get rid of your own waste or do your compacting or interfere with your operations. That would be very difficult. I understand that. But I do know that they make some suppression systems for those. But certainly anything we can do to help the neighbors would be greatly appreciated.
Sounds good. We'll take a look at that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, before we vote, I'll just say I'm abstaining from this, and I've abstained from discussion. We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of resolution number 25139, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Resolution number 25140, approving Hy-Vee final site development plan for property located at 3600 Highway 151, Hy-Vee Food Stores Incorporated.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25140. Any discussion? No discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. And again, I'll abstain on this. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25141 of intent directing staff to negotiate TIF agreements with scenic development.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25141, which is a resolution of intent directing staff to negotiate a TIF agreement with scenic development.
Explain what scenic
Yes.
development
Yeah,
is,
what
I
is
guess.
that?
Okay, so this is, go ahead.
Do you remember this is one that Lon discussed before? This is that
senior
120-unit senior housing project off of Albert Road. It's going to have 3 levels of care there. And at this point, we're just going to review their request, and that's what staff will be doing, just to check things out before any final decisions are made.
Okay.
Okay.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of resolution number 25141, directing staff to negotiate an agreement with scenic development, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. And I'm abstaining on this one also. Thank you.
Your Honor, I move to approve a motion to receive and file correspondence declining Mayor Buska's appointment to the Park Board. Dave Ransford, 1040 26th Avenue.
Second?
Okay, so to clarify, this is a motion to receive and file correspondence from Dave Ransford declining the appointment by Mayor Buska to the Park Board. Okay? All those, any discussion on this? All those in favor of receiving and filing this correspondence, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And then we have a mayoral appointment, Charlie Kress to the Park Board. This comes with a strong recommendation from the Park Board director, the Parks Director. Does someone make a motion?
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the mayoral appointment for Charlie Kress for the Park Board, the term expiring 12/31/2019.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to appoint Charlie Kress to the Parks Board. Discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have one no. Joe.
Me.
Okay. And discussion time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I understand that the water bill is, the water department pays dues to Chamber of Commerce. Is this true?
They pay what?
That the park, and not park, the water department pays dues to the Chamber of Commerce.
I have no idea. Do you know what?
I don't, no one's here from the water department or the chamber right now.
Okay, well, that's what I've heard, and so I said I would check on it.
Can find out.
Also, I would like to see, it used to be that we would get the bills in their entirety. Like, for example, if Mr. Trahern was going to a conference, it would say, you know, mileage, hotel, whatever, and have it all specified out. Now, we just get this, in fact, it's mainly in the Marion Times that I see a lot of this reimbursement for payment, you know, and all this, and I have no idea where they've gone. I have no idea how long they stayed, what the purpose was for the, and I would like to see that, because after all, that's city money that's being spent. And I would like for the finance department to provide a stack of bills if necessary, because sometimes it was pretty lengthy. But that's one thing. All right. I think before we start any other new projects, we should be looking at a water treatment facility, given the condition of the water in the city of Marion. It's nice to say, oh, wow, we've got all this stuff going, and but you can't drink the water. And I think that might not be a real good thing. And one last thing. In the obituaries in the Marion Times today, and it was prior in the Gazette, was Ruth Kincaid, who was approaching her 101st birthday. And she is the grandmother of an associate of the Mayor Abu Asali. That's Ray Kincaid's grandmother. And nice lady. Played a heck of a good game of Roomy Cube.
Is that it? Okay. Thank you.
I would just like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. I know we've had a lot of people get up and leave after their segment of the council meeting this evening, so thanks for coming out, showing your support, bringing some good questions and good topics to the council. Thank you.
And I would just like to report that after 2 weeks of our office hours at the library, the reports are that it's gone very well, and people who happen to be coming to the library are stopping by and talking with the people there, and it's turned out to be a positive result. And you know, we are going to where the people are. And I think that's one step in the right direction of being accessible and being available for people when they're not working, to find information and to give their comments and ask their questions. So, Joe, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I was just going to say that a lot of them come into the library, they go in and then pass by the desk and go, oh, what's that? And then when they come back out, they'll stop and talk. Of course, Kim is there, and I'm sure that's why they stopped. Kim is like, oh, so pretty. They passed me right by. But we did have a guy last Saturday talk about a skating rink with real glycol-type circulation and a permanent, something in the wintertime that we'd have. I know we have the one at the Thomas Park now, but he was saying that like today, it'd probably be slush. So he was thinking of some sort of full-time winter-type ice skating rink. So he told me to tell you that.
From Canada.
He was from Canada. Moved here from Canada. So we've had one of the couples that was there this week had just moved here in December. So they took every piece of information we had and they were hungry for information on Marion, so.
Well, I know that Paul is, had February assigned. Who is working this Saturday? Oh, you are. Okay.
Anybody else can come join me.
So I do appreciate all the council members who have been there and plan to be there, and we're all taking turns. And so please do help us get the word out in the community that the city council is available at the library from 9:30 till 11:30 every Saturday for questions and discussion with citizens about any issue that they have on their mind. Okay? Thank you. With that, the meeting is adjourned.